In writing about men in America, you've talked frequently about what you call the marketing orientation. What do you mean by the marketing orientation, Dr. Fromm?
I mean by that our main way of relating ourselves to others is like things relate themselves to things on the market. We want to exchange our own personality, or as one says sometimes, our personality package for something. Now, is not so true for the manual worker. The manual worker does not have to sell his personality. He doesn't have to sell his smile. But what you might call the symbol pushers, that is to say, all the people who deal with figures, with people, with men, who manipulate, to use a better or nicer word, manipulate men and signs and words. All those today have not only to sell their service, but in the bargain, they have to sell their personality more or less. They're exceptions.
So his sense of his own value must therefore depend upon what the market, in a sense, is willing to pay for it.
Exactly. Just as a handbag which cannot be sold because there is not enough demand is economically speaking useless. And if the handbag could think, it would have a terrific inferiority feeling because not having been bought, it would feel useless. So does a man who considers himself as a thing. And if he's not successful to sell himself, he feels he is a failure.
All right, let's move to our social relationships, in our feelings toward our neighbors, toward our friends. What's happening to man in those spheres?
Well, in the first place, I would say our social relationships are relatively shallow. We are actually afraid to be intimate with people, many people, even with their wives and husbands. And we substitute, or we rather hide this fear of real intimacy by a superficial kind of friendliness, which is quite nice, but nevertheless very shallow. But I think there's another answer to your question, which I should like to give. Actually, if you take the average American, and studies have shown that, he is really concerned only with private affairs. That is to say, with his health, his money, and family affairs. He is not concerned with his society. He talks about it. But if one speaks of being concerned, I mean something about which one loses one's sleep sometimes.
Mhm.
And the average American never loses his sleep about affairs which relate to his society and to our whole country. That is to say, I mean, he has separated his private life from his existence as a member of his society and leaves that to the specialists in the government to take care of.
Do you think that that is happening to American man? And of course, we're speaking not only of American man, but American woman as well here, Dr. Fromm, in relationship to his politics, to his political beliefs?
Yes, indeed. We have, in the same way, relegated our own responsibility in what happens to our country to the specialists who are supposed to take care of it, and the individual citizen does not feel that he can judge and even that he should judge and take any responsibility. I think there are quite a number of recent developments which show that.
Like, for instance?
Like, for instance, that we are confronted with the possibility of a war of such destruction that the whole existence of our nation and of the whole world is at stake. And yet, people know it. People read it in the newspaper. People read that if the first attack, 100 million Americans might be killed. And yet, they talk about it as if they were talking about something being wrong with their carburetor of their car, perhaps. Actually, they have paid more attention to the danger of a flu epidemic than to the danger of the atomic bomb. Because,
Don't you think that's a little overstatement, Dr. Fromm?
well, I wished it were, because what I see is relatively few people who experience, who feel the danger which we are threatened with, and who feel the responsibility of doing something.
Well, maybe when you talk about the responsibility of doing something, maybe it simply is this, that we find it very difficult to make ourselves felt in this amorphous society in which we live. Each individual would want to do something, but would find it difficult to make himself felt.
Well, I think here you point out to one really of the basic defects of our system, that the individual citizen has very little possibility of having any influence, of making his opinion felt in the decision making. And I think that in itself leads to a good deal of political lethargy and stupidity. It is true that one has to think first and then to act. But it's also true that if one has no possibility of acting, one thinking kind of becomes empty and stupid.